I'm Dr. John, and this is your Maintenance Minute. I want to share an amusing anecdote with you today on overall equipment effectiveness. Several years ago, I was at the Society for Maintenance and Reliability Professional, the SMRP conference. It was years ago. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I was attending one of the sessions, and it was Doc Palmer talking about planning and scheduling, and someone had asked him about OEE and specifically what the world-class number was. And Doc Palmer started out by saying that he understood that many people thought the world-class mark for overall equipment effectiveness was 85%. And it's easy how you can see where someone would arrive at that. If you had a availability of 90%, a performance of 95%, and a quality of 99%, you multiply those together and you get an OEE, if you will, of 85%. And Doc Palmer had mentioned that he doesn't believe that that is a world-class number. In fact, I think his comment, and I think I'm correct on remembering this, Doc said there is really, to him anyway, there's no world-class number. So I guess it's, whatever you can achieve. And the other side to that, I'd mentioned the person Dale Bland several videos ago. Dale has passed away a few years ago, but Dale was the owner of the Marshall Institute, and just a great mind on, Doc Palmer's a great mind on maintenance and reliability. Dale Bland, two guys I respect just tremendously. And Dale and I were actually doing a consulting job together. Again, this was years ago. And somebody had asked Dale, what the world-class number for OEE was. And Dale, if you've had the fortune of knowing him, you would understand his wit. He asked the person that was asking the question, he says, well, what is your current OEE? And I think the response was something like 36%. And Dale said, when you get up to 50%, ask me that question again. And his point was, at 36%, you don't need to be worrying about that. In fact, Dale had mentioned before about just measuring things in general. He said, you don't need a yardstick, like measuring yourself against some standard, if you will. He said, all you need is a stick. Just measure what you're doing, measure how you're doing, get a stick and kind of put a hash mark on that. And then do something awesome for 6 months, come back and use the same stick and see if the next mark is a little bit higher than that. And that reminds me of a story. I tell my classes, and I'll tell this in consulting assignments as well. Most of us have, and I'd say probably this might be an American tradition, but I think it's international. I certainly hear this from my international students when I'm consulting or teaching overseas. But most of us have the experience when we were small children that our sister or our mother or somebody would back us up to a kind of a door frame and put a book or a ruler on our head and take a pen or a pencil and put a little hash mark, and they'd measure how tall we were. Now, the first time this happened, that number, say it's 4'9", that didn't mean anything to us because you're 4'9", and okay, that's a good number. But about 6 months later, you ask your sister or your mother to measure you again, right? And you stood in your socks really tall up against that door frame, and they put the ruler or kind of put the book up there and marked, where you were. And then they would see that you had grown an inch in 6 months. And I'm here to tell you, every single one of us, after we saw that we'd grown an inch taller in 6 months, we walked around with our chest puffed out, and we were so proud of that. And that was a point that Dale was making, and I think in some respects Doc Palmer was making too. Measure where you are. You don't even need a yardstick, just a stick. Put a little hash mark. Go do something awesome for 6 months and come back and see if you've grown. Dale would say, we are going to celebrate that delta, that 1 inch. You grew taller 1 inch, we're going to celebrate that. Measure your OEE. I've talked previously in a video about overall equipment effectiveness. Get a stick, put a hash mark on it. Go do something awesome in the area of availability and performance and quality if you need to. Then come back and measure that again. And then you're going to see that you've improved by 1 inch. And I want you to celebrate that. Don't let it go without celebration. Let's make a big deal about it because it is a big deal. I'm Dr. John, and this has been your Maintenance Minute.